Hey guys, Beretta 92F, Petro Beretta, made in Italy, imported by the Beretta USA Corp serial number, model 92FS, caliber 9. This has got some G10 grips on it, lanyard over there. This is very similar to the South African Vector Z88 or Z88, and that was a reverse engineered Beretta like this. So what needs to happen to this is it's got a plastic trigger, and it's got from Beretta a replacement steel trigger as well as a reduced spring. So there's the trigger return spring and a reduced hammer spring. So to take it apart, depress that button and twist that lever down, and it will jump off the slides. So there's the frame, and there's the slide. Pull off the grips. Now we need to get out the trigger bar. The trigger bar has to come out, as well as the slide stop to get the trigger pin and the trigger out. Pivot up on the slide stop and pull the slide stop out. Got a spring in there. Slide stop spring. Slide stops out. Trigger pin should be able to come out now. Little spring over there. Get that out the slot. That's the trigger bar spring. Now the trigger bar is loose, and we should be able to lift the trigger bar out. Gotta have the hammer down, and then the trigger bar slides out. It slides into the trigger right over there. Now in theory the trigger pin can come out, because that spring was sitting in there, and that holds the trigger pin in right over there. With that out, the trigger pin should be able to come free. There we go. There's the trigger pin, and now we got the trigger return spring in there. Pull the punch. I don't think it's going to go flying. There we go. Trigger return spring and a steel reinforced plastic trigger. Got steel there and plastic around it. I made a little slave pin for the to keep the spring in, and I'll put the spring into the gun as a unit, and then push the slave pin out with the trigger pin. And get it to there, line it up. So there we go. There's the slave pin. You can see the slave pin through the hole, and the trigger pin needs to go through and push the slave pin out the other end. I got the trigger spring in. Now that leg of the trigger spring, that's got to ride that leg of the trigger bar. The spring will ride in that groove. Okay, we're going to get that spring past that point, at the point of the spec, and then push the trigger bar in all the way. There you go. Got it pulled in and into that little notch. Trigger bar's on. Now we got to get this little spring back in. Trigger bar spring's got a little hole right there in the frame where that goes in. And you just got to get that into sitting under the trigger bar itself. There we go. It's got a little slot on the trigger bar and another slot there, and that just keeps the pushes the trigger bar up. Slide stop spring. It's got a little hole there. That hole, the point of that spring goes into that hole, and sits up there. Get the slide stop in there and rotate it down. Got the slide stop spring in, and you got to ride it up to it hooks in. It hooks in over there. Rides in that groove right there, so you got to lift that up while you're pushing in on it. And it's in that little groove right there. So the spring pushes it down, and the magazine will push it up on that tab and lock the slide. Roll pin punch. Put the roll pin out. There's the plunger. There's the spring. New spring, significantly shorter than the old spring. Put the new spring onto the hammer strut. I'm gonna put this on in on camera. Got to push down there while I'm beating down on that roll pin. And I do not have enough hands or enough surface to push against. There you go. Got it captured. Just to knock it home. Yeah, got it even. Now for the grips, and we're done. Grip's going really tight. There you go, guys. Hope that helps somebody. Stay safe. We talk again. Cheers.